Hello, everyone, and it's another Tuesday here at the Progress Report. I'm your host, Dee Sage. I hope everyone has had a wonderful week. Thank you for all those who watched last week's video and last week's show. Last week's show was great, but this week, a whole new show, a whole new special guest. I have my good friend, met this year, and we've been following back and forth. We've been to a few rallies, met at a few rallies this year, and this is my friend Gabriel Alvarez, right? Yep, I got it right. Yes. But how are you doing, Gabriel?
I'm doing good.
You're doing good. How was your summer?
Summer has been decent. Quarantine. But, it's been good.
You had some like quarantine cookouts to like pass the time by or anything like that?
I had went over camping with my partner for his birthday in July.
Nice.
It was really nice.
Nice.
We went to like some
I went camping for the first time this summer.
Oh, really? How was it? Did
terrible.
you like it?
Absolutely terrible. No. It rained. It poured down rain. Oh. It was just wet outside. I needed a bucket, a mop, everything.
Oh no.
No. It was actually fun. I did some canoeing. And sat around a fire with some great friends. Camping can be fun, but it did rain Saturday. Just poured down rain.
It.
Well, yeah.
Because it's all muddy.
Yeah, that's true. It does get all muddy and all that stuff.
I don't want to leave my tent.
But before we get to our special guest and to our topics, I hope did everybody watch the vice presidential debate last week? I know I did. And if you saw my video, to all my friends out there on my Facebook, if you watched on my Facebook, I went live. The very moment the fly decided to crash.
The fly was on the wall.
The fly was like, I smell shit. But
flies are attracted to garbage. So
well, he was putting out a lot of hot garbage coming out of that mouth there. Like just his best line of the night was, "Well, Senator Harris, you're entitled to your opinions, but not your own facts." I was like, what the heck is that supposed to mean? She's been spitting out facts about the president and coronavirus and everything. You're gonna say you're not entitled to you're entitled to your opinions, not your own facts? No, she's giving you the facts. The president said that the coronavirus was a hoax. He also decided not to shut us down until mid-March. Yes, okay, he shut down the borders to corona, and he thinks, and according to the people around him, because I think a lot of them say things just so they can keep their jobs. Oh, did I say that?
I think you did.
Dang it. We're going to be off air soon. Anyway, but no, seriously, it gets a little bit annoying that the president of the United States and his cronies continue to lie. And then he gets coronavirus. The irony of it all, he gets coronavirus. And then last night, Florida, can you be any more dumb? Like, seriously, how many times do I look in the news? It's like every week is somebody in Florida that decides that they don't want to follow any social distancing rules. They don't want to wear masks.
There was a Florida government official that was actually like, let's just forget the whole thing and go back to normal. I am concerned for Florida, as I always have been.
To all my family and my close dear friends that live in Florida, you need to exit Get out of there while you can.
Out of there.
Get out of there while you can. I'm telling you, that is going to be where World War Z begins. Right there in Florida with those people. That's what's going to happen. That's not fear-mongering. I'm sorry. Look at the facts at Florida. Their college, they're not following safety procedures at the colleges. They've had outbreaks at their colleges. They have outbreaks on their beaches. They've had outbreaks in neighborhoods. And then the president decides, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to go to Florida, hold a rally, and not wear a mask and say, I'll kiss every one of you. Well, let me tell you something. You couldn't pay me enough to kiss the president of the United States. At all. But the best part about Kamala Harris, you know what I loved? I love to watch a black woman put a white man in his place on national television. Girl, snap and a twist. I loved it. Every second of it. She said, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. No, I'm talking. Basically was, you won't let me talk. And then the look she gave him.
Those looks, those little eye rolls she was like, and then she started laughing while he was speaking, and I was like, I'm living for this right now.
Let me tell you something. Every black person in America, every woman in America, every LGBTQ plus I hate person knew those looks that they were giving. He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready.
No.
He wasn't
They're
ready.
Never ready.
They're never ready.
No.
They're never ready for people like a Michelle Obama and a Kamala Harris.
No.
At all. They're never ready for it. Well, oh well. It's here. She's there. Deal with it. Anyway, moving on. So, here we are in Rhode Island, and we have the election coming up in a few weeks. I hope people went and got their mail-in ballots mailed out today. Not mailed out, but in. Today was the deadline. If you did not, you should file for an emergency ballot and put your emergency ballot in. Please do that as soon as possible. With that said, we have a big question on the ballot. The state of Rhode Island's name is the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantation. The question number one that is going to be on the ballot is if we as Rhode Islanders want to change the name from the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantation to just the state of Rhode Island. And you know what, Gabe?
This should have been done long ago.
Long time ago.
Like, this is new conversations that we're having in 2020.
No, it's not a new conversation. It was. I remember my first time voting. Was 2000 and clickety clack. But my first time voting, it was on I think it was about 2006 was my first time voting in the general election, and I remember it being a question then. If it wasn't 2006, it was 2006, 2008, somewhere around there. I remember it being a question a few times, and but we're gonna get to to all the material. So question one would remove Providence Plantations from the state name references in the preamble, the Article 3, and Article, I believe that's 9, of the Rhode Island Constitution. The current official name of Rhode Island is the State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations. On June 19th, Mayor Lorza removed plantations from all the city documents, and on June 22nd, Governor Mundo issued the same executive order to remove plantations from all the documentation used by her office only. It wasn't statewide. Voters defended the Rhode Island Name Change Amendment Question 1 in 2010. It was in 2010. They defended to 79.9% of voters decided against the change. Question 1 was introduced by Representative Joseph Omita, my representative, who was retiring, and Anastasia Williams, as well as Grace Diaz, on February 4th, 2009. The measure would have changed the state's official name from the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations to Rhode Island. So 10 years we've been fighting this fight.
Yeah, 10 years too long.
Do you think we're ready for this?
I think that we need to ask if their governors are ready for this, if they're ready to uphold what this means, that now they have to answer to the racism in Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. We're not just a blue state. We have a lot of internalized systematic racism that they need to acknowledge. You're absolutely right,
because when you get outside certain areas, there's a lot of conservative values, conservative views, and I've been in arguments with many guys that I bowl against about the name of the state name, and I mean our own Speaker of the House didn't know about Rhode Island's link to slavery.
Yeah,
You know?
even though it was right down.
It was right down the street. You know, there was a documentary I remember watching in college, and we also had to write a paper in college on Rhode Island's involvement in the slave trade. Did we forget about the Amistad? Did we forget about that the families, even though after slavery was outlawed in Rhode Island, they were still making the chains, the ships. They would come here to Bristol, Rhode Island, and then go on their journey, get their supplies that they need to go on their journey, and then back down to either the Caribbean or in the South. So that was, do your history. Like, I mean, it's right there. And I remember learning about the transatlantic slave trade. So I don't understand it.
Too much do we forget, to be honest.
So the two versions of the amendment were introduced. Senate Resolution 2902 was introduced on June 17, 2020 by my Senator Harold Metz, who is also going to be leaving as well. And Senator Cano, Senator Anna Casada, Senate President Ruggiero, and Senator Mary Ellen Goodwin. On June 18, 2020, the state Senate passed the measure in a vote 38-0. The House resolution was sponsored in the State House by Democrat Representative Anastasia Williams, Joseph Almeida, Joseph Solomon Jr., Karen Alzati. I hope I pronounced that right. Alzat. Sorry, charge it to my head, not my heart. And Raymond Hull. On July 16th, the Rhode Island House of Representatives passed the measure to vote 69-1. I want to know who that one person. I wonder who that one person was.
I'm very interested.
I'm very interested who was that one person. 69-1. Who was that one person?
It's like that one person in school that just does.
We're looking for you. We're looking for you. We're looking for that number one person. But I think it's just high time. Representative Williams said it like this. When you have more than 10,000 Rhode Islanders show up in a pandemic for a march calling for an end to police brutality and to affirm that Black Lives Matter, we can't take this ugly, painful word. We can take this ugly, painful word of the name of our beautiful state. We have genuine work ahead of us to bring us to true equality and justice for all. We are collectively taking the step as a inclusive symbol to demonstrate that we are Rhode Islanders, period.
I think that was very well said. And to reiterate the fact that during a pandemic, this is still like we're still protesting, still constantly calling for action.
Yes.
It should say a lot.
Exactly. I mean, what I can't stand is when the opposition asks the question, well, coronavirus must not be real. If you guys can get out there and protest and we can have our Trump rallies. And I'm sitting there saying, well, it's not the same thing.
No.
You guys are rallying to uplift a man's ego. We're protesting to bring down the very egos that you're trying to build up.
Exactly. We are fighting systematic racism, and we have our masks on. The only people we see without their mask on are
the people at the government officials at Trump rallies.
Exactly.
We have our mask on at our rallies.
I don't know.
We have hand sanitizer.
Y'all kissing each other.
We're social distant. We're out there elbowing.
Yes.
We out there elbowing. I'm talking about we out there looking like Kid and Play. Hey. That's what we out there doing, you know? We going to the rallies. Y'all out there holding hands like kumbaya. Kumbaya. Like, seriously, y'all need to sit down. Let me leave them alone. Brian Stinson, historian, said those seeking to shorten the state's name have no documentation to support their case.
That sounds like Kanye West saying it's a choice.
Jesus Christ. Lord have mercy. Oh, man.
400 years, Brian Stinson. 400 years.
This misguided initiative is based on myth, not fact. Falsely and mistakenly, I can't even take this guy serious. I'm sorry. No disrespect to you. No disrespect to you. I'm pretty sure you have the credentials and all that stuff, and I respect people with their credentials. But let's be real. You PBS. I implore you, Brian. I implore you. PBS has a documentary. It's been out for a long time. Rhode Island's involvement in the slave trade. Watch that entire documentary. please watch that documentary. It will enlighten you. It will enlighten you. But not just that. Go to your local library. There's books on the transatlantic slave trade. There's books. There's information out there. But you have to be willing to get out there and research it. You're a historian, so if you're a historian, be happy to research that history. You can't say it's based on a myth, because it's not based on a myth. All right, let's talk about something else that's probably going to get me all riled up and probably get you riled up too.
Oh, Trump's Columbus Day post.
The proclamation from the president. This is taken directly from the White House, okay? Therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim October 12, 2020 as Columbus Day. I call upon the people of the United States to observe the day with appropriate ceremonies and activities. I also direct that the flag of the United States be displayed on the public buildings on the appointed day to honor all our diverse history and all who have contributed to shaping this nation. He goes on to say, sadly, in recent years, radical activists have sought out to undermine Christopher Columbus's legacy. These extremists seek to replace discussion of the vast contributions with talk of failings, his discoveries, and with aristocracies. He probably said it like that. Sorry.
100% sure he said it just.
He said it just like that. And his achievements with transgressions. Rather than learn from the history, this radical ideology and its adherents seek to revise it, deprive it of any splendor, and mark it with an inherently sinister. They seek to squash any dissent from their, is that orthodoxy?
Yes.
What's an orthodoxy? Isn't that like at the dentist?
President Trump, I told you to read this directly from.
I didn't remember you telling me to read this at all. You didn't do that. You're fired. I mean,
exactly how that went.
That's exactly how that conversation most likely went. But I mean, first of all, Mr. President, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Trump Towers and I'm just going to set up shop inside Trump Towers. And when you try to kick me out with the police, I'm going to say I discovered it. That's what I'm gonna do.
We're about to Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. We're about to
Tower.
Christopher Columbus, your Trump Towers. Okay, that's basically what you're saying. My great grandmother is Narragansett. Mm-hmm. My great grandma's Narragansett. She's an elder. She's an elder in the tribe. Mm-hmm. I've never been, and it's something that I do want to experience at some point. I was hoping to experience this year, but because of COVID, unfortunately, I have not had the opportunity. But one thing. I find disheartening is to know that how many people have lost their roots when it comes to Black and brown people who have lost their roots because of colonization. Exactly. And Christopher Columbus embodies colonization. It embodies everything that's negative and what's wrong. The first sin to let's be real. The first sin to the Americas that Europeans have to apologize for is a sin to the Native Americans, the indigenous people that were already here. You have to apologize for that sin first. And I don't mean to get all spiritual. I'm always talking to people about repentance. America needs to repent for that sin. You start there first, and then repent for slavery, and then repent for some other stuff. A whole bunch of stuff. A whole list. Women, raping women.
Trying to take away.
Miseducating, taking away people's rights. Donald Trump's hair. You need to repent for that. It's that simple. Those are the things we need to repent for. And while you're repenting, I'm going to take a little break. And that's that. See you in a moment. Hello, everyone, and we're back. Sorry about that. Yeah, and apparently I was told during the break that I should repent for tossing my glasses. Poor glasses. I'm sorry. It's just the news is so bad. The news is so bad. So we have a wonderful special guest today. I was looking for the word special guest, but I want to say a new friend, to be honest with you, because I've been talking to her now since a little bit before the show and gotten to know her. And I know she watches the show. She is running for city council in Woonsocket. Marlene Guy is a proud resident of the city of Woonsocket for 25 years, as well as a lifelong Rhode Islander. She's a single mother of 2 adult sons who have graduated from the Woonsocket public school system. She's a daughter of blue-collar parents, one being an immigrant. Marlene proudly graduated from the University of Rhode Island as a non-traditional student, focusing on education and child psychology. Marlene has spent almost 2 decades volunteering, working, and advocating for children. Her focus has been on social justice with the true belief that education is the learning agent to support equity and representation, where the outcome is systematic change and long overdue impact. She says, open quote, "I'm running for office because I believe in Woonsocket that in Woonsocket the residents feel unheard and disenfranchised from the political process. I hope to return public service back to politics, empower the residents to feel heard, empowered, and valued, and that government transparency is front and center." Without further ado, I'd like to introduce my special guest, Woonsocket City Council candidate Marlene Guy.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. How's it going out there on the campaign trail?
It is busy but good. We are 3 weeks from today from election night, so just as anxious as people are for so many different races, for us, I've been able to at least mildly distract myself with the local campaign and vaguing out some of the stuff that is happening on a national level, but I am still very well aware of some of those challenges for sure.
Right. Listen, I think we have some trying times ahead of us, and the only way we're going to be able to get through is if we get through it all together. So we have a few series of questions for you, and just have a conversation.
Sounds great. Perfect.
All right. So could you do me a favor? You recently were endorsed by, you recently were endorsed by Senator Bernie Sanders. It's not often that you see a state senator from another state and a majority contender for president endorse a city council member. How do you feel about that?
So I cannot express in words how excited I actually was to get that endorsement. Honestly, as a grown 43-year-old woman, I cried probably more than I should have. It was extremely empowering to know that not only were we catching the attention of people on a national level and in multiple states, but that we were garnering the support of so many people who really were pushing and supporting the progressive movement, and believe in even just the small change that we can make here in Woonsocket for our residents. I think that it was honestly, it was joyous. We all were so excited and engaged in what happened. I liken it to, I had gone to see him back in February when he was in Boston, and I traveled there all by myself, and I went and I listened to him, and his words resonated with me quite a bit about the importance of a bigger movement, the grassroots, that we're all bigger than what we can be. And I, at that time, I never would have thought that I would have been running for city council, but here I am. And the idea of getting his support was huge.
So was it a phone? Did he call you on the phone or?
No, so we got information from the Bernie groups, so the people for Bernie, and they sent us some emails, and that is how we officially found out. And then we had to keep it quiet, so that was probably the hardest 7 hours of my life.
It would
And
have
I
been
get
cool if
worked
it would have been cool if he would have called you and said, "Marlene, I want to endorse you for city council in Warwick. I think you're phenomenal, and
That is what I
We're gonna
internalized it
come for
all
the
was.
1%."
Yes. The I in my head that yes, he thought of my name for a short period of time. I wish it came out that way, but in the emails it was huge, and yeah, it was a very long 7 hours to keep that under wraps. My son came downstairs. He heard me screaming. He thought something was wrong.
Uh, Speaking of that, you're the single mother of 2 sons. You just said you have your son, both now adults. How has being a single mother helped you prepare for public service as a city councilor?
So I think being a single mom has prepared me to expect absolutely everything and anything at all points. But then also the importance of really thinking about the whys behind things. And so I think that that has helped me to be able to think about, you know, what are the needs of people, and they're all different. I mean, I have 2 boys that were raised in the same house with the same experiences, and they all still have different perspectives. They have their own lived truth, and it's how they use that to be able to become the human beings that they are. And it's being able to make sure that I take that same care and thought as I'm interacting with all different people about their lived truth and their lived experience, and making sure that they're feeling just as heard and just as supported as we're having conversations about needs and concerns. I think it just kind of naturally melds into itself.
Nice. If you want to take the next question.
Oh yeah. So if your entire slate does not get elected, you would have a majority. How will you ensure that the minority will still have a voice on the council?
Absolutely. So one of the big things for us is to have that majority to be able to really start making that the movement towards our the needs of the everyday working person in Woonsocket, and most people know that. Our city is very much working class, and people are really feeling unheard. That being said, we can't in turn then just shut out everybody else's voice. It's really important for us to be able to hear everybody in that sense, that we cannot then in turn do exactly what has been happening for years within the community for a majority of the people who are here. That would kind of be relatively petty, so I don't want that to end up happening. But I think that one of the best parts of us running as a slate is we're 4 people who have very similar ideals, but we also have 4 different lived experiences which come to the table. So we're already, even as a slate, learning how to collaborate and work together, share our own stories, lean on others for their expertise in certain areas, and what that actually looks like. And so as a group, we have continued to utilize all of those skills, and I think that as we move forward, if we're elected as a full slate, we're going to be able to continue to do that with whoever we are working with.
So with that, the statement that I had read earlier, and then I'm going to read it again. You said, "I hope to return public service back to politics, empower the residents to feel heard and valued, and that government transparency is front and center." What steps would you take to address that?
So there's a lot of things. One of them is, everything from people even understanding or having access to the political process is really challenging. We have a very low voter turnout, and there's a wide range of things for that, including the fact that people are unsure about the process or who is actually running for office. But even when you walk through the front doors of any public building, it is, as I like to say, a sea of 1%, 2%, and whole milk. There is no diversity whatsoever on any level. Everything from having somebody who can translate for you as you're going to go pay your taxes, to being able to get information about how to register to vote. And so I think that as we think about what that looks like, we need to be able to think about our community and who we are. We have a very large Hispanic community here. So the idea that we don't have everything easily accessible in Spanish and English, but then we also have a very large Laotian population here as well. And so thinking about what that looks like and honoring, our residents and who they are. I think that one of the other things that we've talked about quite extensively is warding and what that looks like. We want to be able to make sure right now our city council is decided at large. And so we have a very unique tapestry where we have very affluent communities and then we have very working class communities. And just like in many different communities, groups cluster together because of religious beliefs or because these are extended families and these are beautiful and really ingrained in who we are. If we have the majority of our elected officials all coming from like a 3-block radius, that limits their exposure to this beautiful tapestry of who we are. And so that's one of the things that's really great about the 4 of us running together is we all 4 of us represent a different part of this community, which hasn't been present in a really long time. And so being able to understand just those little nuances of the needs of a community. What each one of us all have different parts. What are the needs in those? What would be exciting for the families to be able to have celebrations? And how are we ensuring that, we have music and fairs and festivals that are representative of our community? And I think that those are some easy ways right off the bat to start thinking about how we can make that happen.
So your campaign page states your focus has been on social justice with the true belief that education is the learning agent to support equity and representation where the outcome is systematic change and long overdue impact. It's a great statement, but what steps, if elected, will you take to help bring about social justice?
Absolutely. So that is a really strong thing. And I think even earlier, Dee, you were talking about just being able to educate yourself a little bit about what that looks like. I think that one of the big things is, again, going back to, we have one very singular perspective of opinions and lived experiences for the people who are representing the entire community. And none of the people who are in office have ever really interacted with large groups. And so, like I spoke earlier, we have multiple groups that are here. I know for sure, because I have several friends, that none of them have ever reached out to any of the temples for our Laotian families. And what does that look like? And so it's very singular, and being able to think about those experiences from a whole. And part of that is just, you can't just come in and take over. And that is a lot of the mentality, is how are you authentically making connections with people and learning from their lived experiences? And that's, somebody's not just going to come and tell their whole story. That has to do with just being ingrained with families and the members in your neighborhoods, being part of active, collaborative groups, being part of coalitions, being part of the PTA, going and being really connected. Sure.
Hold on 1 second, because I'm getting this. I'm not sure if
I think it's cutting out a little bit.
You're cutting in and out a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Am I still here?
You're still here. I can hear you now. I can hear you clear now. I'm sorry about that, but you had some cutting in and out.
Okay.
You're saying some good. I don't want to get every other word, because I hear you saying some good things there. But you're running on a slate with Alex Kithis and Charmaine Webster, who have both been here on the show, and I had a great time with Charmaine, and Alex was our first guest, and he's done some great work as a city council person up there, and you also have Von Miller. Are there any challenges from working with the slate that you may not have had if campaigning alone?
So there are challenges no matter what you end up doing. I'm going to say that the challenges of running with a slate, I think for all 4 of us, has actually prepared us to be able to be better city council members. A lot of that is differing of opinions. A lot of that is really having strong lived experiences, values, and what we think our priorities of where we're going and who we're canvassing to first and what this all looks like. But I think we all, like you had said, Alex is actually an incumbent, so we have leaned heavily on him and his expertise, as the rest of us are all new candidates. But he has been very gracious in listening to our lived experiences, because all four of us are so uniquely different. I know that you've met Charmaine and has been on the show, and then Von Miller is retired military, so he has a different experience as well. And I think that knowing that we grow from those types of things, and so there's a lot of things that, you know, I think the four of us have grown exponentially as individuals, more so than even just candidates. And then there's always just the super plus things, like we get to share everything. We actually had a conversation the other day that if all four of us get elected, we couldn't actually socially be together because we'd then be a quorum. And so that was actually really sad because we've all grown to be really close friends. And I think that is part of just highlighting what true representation could actually be.
So here's a tough question for you. You know,
sure.
And I know this is always a tough question for a lot of politicians. So your slate, you guys have not endorsed anybody for Woonsocket's mayor office. Can you tell us why?
So we have actually not endorsed anybody because one of the challenges that's happened here in Woonsocket, and we going around and doing canvassing, we keep on hearing it over and over and over again from people. They're really tired of the pettiness. They're really tired of the fighting. They just want people in here who's willing to work for them. And so if we choose one candidate, it's going to be a close race. And if we think about and endorse one versus another, and then that person doesn't end up winning, we want to make sure that we know that there's not going to be any animosity and we can work with anybody to be able to improve the city of Woonsocket and represent the residents the best way that we possibly can.
You know, you just said something I think that's important for government all around, even at the not just our city and town level, but also at a state level and in our federal level. It needs to happen is we need to put away the petty differences and actually work together for what is right. You know, like with the whole thing with, and I wasn't going to talk about it today, but you know, the whole thing with Judge Barrett. You know, in 2015, 2016, you know, Mitch McConnell and the Republicans were against Obama putting up a justice, and here we are now. They're like, oh no, it's okay for Donald Trump. It's the hypocrisy. It's no, I'm going to just work for my party instead of saying no. I need to put my party aside and do what's right for the American people.
Acts that are within like state government officials, and I think it's great that you guys are putting that concern from the communities that they're tired of like the childishness. This isn't like high school.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. You look at the presidential debate, and you could make comment on that. The presidential debate, they were just fighting, going back and forth, like, you know. And even prior to that, when we look at a lot of national advertisements and the way they campaign, it was all negativity, and people are tired. I think people are tired of the negative politics. Period. I think people are tired of it. What are you going to do for me? It's the same thing I said about the Democratic Convention. I was talking about the Democratic Convention and I said, listen, it's all well and good. We know Donald Trump's a bad guy, but how are you going to be better? What's your platform to be better? You can't just run on the basis that Donald Trump is bad for the country. You have to run on some type of platform and tell us what is it. Give us some definitive answers, and that's it. And I in many ways, I think the Democrats have done a mediocre job at doing that.
They've done much, to be honest. It's been just fighting back and forth, like poking jabs at each other. It's like, what are you going to do for us? Right.
The sad thing is we know what the Republican agenda is nationally.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We didn't mean to make this takeover.
No. You are absolutely right. I mean, I think that we are genuinely having those conversations that people shouldn't just vote for somebody because they're just mediocrely better than the other guy.
Right.
And I think that that's part of things that we keep on talking about here is that it's, we've had the same groups of politicians keep on rotating through. Sometimes one or another will get on or off, but it's genuinely the same group of white middle-class males that are presenting a very unique community, and we're not making any progress. And so We're hoping that coming to the table with new, really creative ideas and actually listening to the people, because this city is full of brilliant, amazing people that we just need to help them find their voice and make sure we're amplifying it for them.
So, can you tell us a bit about the Rhode Island Political Cooperative? What exactly is it? How does it work? And how has it helped you?
Absolutely. So the Rhode Island Political Cooperative is a really great group that has been supporting progressive candidates up and down both state and local positions. It was created to be able to give that that reinforcement that a lot of independent or progressive candidates don't necessarily have. And so being able to do everything from giving trainings about how to do campaign finance reports to thinking about how to make sure that and new time candidates, particularly candidates that would never run for office. So a lot of BIPOC, the LGBTQ plus community, like all people that have always been marginalized from running for office, giving them that additional support. And so we joke sometimes and say it's the dysfunctional family, but it is everything from pooling resources to just general moral support. And they are really great at thinking about how they can keep on pushing to get really great progressive candidates in positions that would probably not have been able to do.
Gotcha. So I have some fun questions for you, and this question's probably come from our conversation earlier. Okay, one of the questions came from our conversation earlier. Okay, so I have some fun questions. We can actually, I didn't get to ask you some fun questions either, so I get to ask both of you these fun questions. Yay! Okay, so both of you quickly, comfort food on a cold, rainy night.
You want to go first, Gabriel?
I'm gonna go with French fries, like cheese fries. Cheese fries. But like extra.
So I'm French Canadian, so I feel with you there. Like poutine is up there on the top of the list of really delicious things. I'm not gonna lie about that. I'm gonna say a really nice bowl of macaroni and cheese is ultimate comfort food, and honestly, all gooey and delicious it is.
That is true. That is true. That is true. Okay. Yeah. So, favorite lyric.
That's challenging. Favorite lyric. I would probably have to say, probably sorry, not sorry. I think sometimes I have gotten into situations where it's like, I am sorry, but not really.
How about you? What would be your favorite lyric?
That is a really challenging question. I have so many like songs popping up in my head, and I'm like, whoa, I'm trying to catch one lyric. I don't know if I have a favorite lyric.
No, yeah. I see me. It's so it varies because I listen to so much different music. That is a tough question. But so lately it's I've been listening to a lot of gospel music lately. So I would have to say it's this, my favorite lyric is "I Shall Wear a Crown," and it was a beautiful song. It was sang at George Floyd's funeral, and that's the first time I heard it. Then I heard it again from somebody else. So I've been listening to it like 3-4 times a day. But yeah, so that would be my favorite lyric right now. But yeah,
I hear you. So I was gonna say that my favorite, like I joke and say carpool karaoke. It's like the one song that comes on no matter where you are. You're gonna crank it up really loud and sing on top of your lungs. Actually, for me, is John Bon Jovi, "Living on a Prayer." I will sing that.
Okay.
At the grocery store.
Okay. So I should have challenged you today to "Living on the Prayer."
I don't know. We were getting close to having an East Coast, West Coast thing earlier. So I don't know.
It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. But no, Marlene, it's been great to sit here and talk to you today. It's been very wonderful. And here on the Progress Channel, we like to give grades, and I am a tough teacher, as they all say. I'm a very, very tough teacher. So I'm gonna give you a grade of an A minus. And like Councilman Vargas and Senator-elect Mack and Representative-elect Batista, they all said they hope they can do the work they have to do to gain that. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see good work from you up there in Woonsocket, and it's been great.
Thank you so much for the time. It was wonderful to have a chat with both of you guys, and it's a really great opportunity to be able to share, and thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. Also, and I have to thank you for watching, because earlier you told me that you've been watching the show since day one. So I really want to thank you for that, for watching. What will be your favorite part of the show? You could.
Honestly, I love the interaction between you and the guest host, because that changes every week, and it's a similar dynamic, but not quite. And it gives me an opportunity to get to know who the guest host is, not just the person you're interviewing.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I like that. So, Marlene, thank you so much. Good luck out there on your race. And if you see Alex and Charmaine, tell them I said hey.
I will definitely do that. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. And we'll be back after these messages. Hello, and we're back, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in. Gabriel, thank you for coming here today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad I got to be around you, you beautiful human being, you.
Yeah, no, I wanted us to get closer and start talking a little bit more ever since I met you at that first rally.
Yes. That rally was, I had to say, that rally, I thoroughly enjoyed that rally, and I thought it was important. It kind of, when I was walking the street in the Trans Lives Matters rally, I kind of thought back to the early years of the movement and how they must have felt in the moment, and I thought about, because I know a lot of the 76ers for Pride that started Pride, the first people to walk in the parade. I knew Bel Pellegrino was I called Bell my grandfather in the community, and Billy and his husband Will they live down in Texas now. I met them, and when I was walking, I said, wow, it's we still, it's the same feeling I had when we had the 10,000 people march. You know, my grandmother grew up in Jim Crow South, and was still fighting the same fight.
Yeah.
And I think today I want to say to everyone is that we have to keep that good fight. If I can give any message today is we can't, you know, and I forgot who wrote the poem, but don't go gentle into that good night. It's not just don't die. Don't let any of it die. And you know, we're still seeing a lot of the protests going on. We're still seeing the other day there was a protest on the highway. People were arrested. And you know, people say when's enough. I'm going to reiterate the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. It's never enough as long as black and brown people are not treated equally in the justice system. It's not going to be enough until black and brown people and all marginalized people are treated with the same human rights as white men in this country. Exactly. It's not going to ever be enough until we have proper housing, education, medical advances, and we don't have the same access to opportunities as everyone else. It's not going to be enough until black and brown people can have the same opportunity to walk into a bank to get a loan, a business loan, or a homeowner's loan. It's not going to be enough. And if America thinks that, hey, it's going to be business as usual for a while and they can blow this thing over, it's not going to happen. And to everyone out there, get out and vote. Get out and vote. Anything you want to add?
Voting is the most important thing at this time, and being there as much as you can for these community, finding out what organizations are doing the work. I know ProvX is a big organization that's doing a lot of work.
Yes.
Joining them, finding out who else who else you can connect to, finding out where they're meeting at if you have the time and the energy to do that.
Get part of your local neighborhood associations. There's always meetings open for public forums to speak at. I know they've been having a lot of public forums in Providence around policing and get there and let your voice be heard. Let your voice be heard. This is your moment. You better lose yourself. That's it. That's all I can say. With all that said, I'm Dee Sage and
I'm Gabriel.
And thank you for joining us today. Oh, and thank you to my special guest today, City Council candidate Marlene Guy, for coming in and sitting in the hot seat. No. But until next time, Rhode Island, good night.